It all starts in the quiet moments, the ones you don't post about. The stare into a blank screen late at night, the silence after the notification doesn't come, the ache behind the laughter at a joke that didn't really land. That's where it lives. Jung called it the shadow, but for modern you men, it has taken on a new form. It doesn't roar, it doesn't rage, it whispers. And the whisper is always the same. You are not enough. You feel it when you're scrolling through perfect faces and louder lives. You feel it when you check her story and realize she's fine without you. You feel it in the pause after someone asks what you do, and you answer with your job title like that's all you are. That quiet erosion of self. Jung saw it coming long before Instagram, before TikTok, before hookup culture, before fatherless homes became statistics, not tragedies. He saw the rise of men who look fine on the surface, but underneath are starving. Not for sex, not for money, not even for love, but for meaning. Carl Jung wrote that when a man cannot face his own unconscious, he becomes a slave to whatever the culture tells him to be. And this culture has trained men to be anything but whole. You were taught how to please, not how to feel. You were told to chase status, not stillness. From an early age, you were rewarded for performance and punished for presence. You were told to suppress everything soft until it hardened into quiet despair. And now you carry a smile like armor and wonder why no one sees the war inside. The modern man is dying not because he is weak in the gym or broke in his bank account. He is dying because he is disintegrated, fragmented, hollowed out by 1,000 false selves built to survive in a world that never taught him how to live. I know you can feel these words right now.
You play roles: the provider, the protector, the seducer, the nice guy. You memorize scripts written by people who never knew your name, and every time you slip into one, a part of you slips away. Jung said the self is not found, it is made through the brutal and sacred work of integrating the parts you've buried. But modern men don't integrate, they compartmentalize. They shove their pain behind sarcasm. They hide their loneliness behind podcasts and porn. They trade truth for validation and call it confidence, but beneath it all, they're bleeding, and they don't even know why. The worst part? They think they're the only one, because no one talks about this. No one tells the truth, that most men you know, yes, your friends, brothers, even the loud ones, the successful ones, the ones with options, wake up with a voice in their head that says you're faking it. Jung didn't say this directly, but he hinted at it in every case study, every note on neurosis, every story of a man who climbed the ladder only to find there was nothing at the top. He warned that when a man ignores his inner life, that life doesn't disappear. It festers, it leaks out in addiction and anger and avoidance. You call it just being tired. But it's not tiredness, it's spiritual malnutrition, and it's killing you slowly. You see it in your relationships, don't you? Yes, you do. That inability to go deep, that fear of being truly seen, that instinct to pull away when things get too real. You think it's about her, but it's not. It's about you, about the parts of you that you've refused to bring into the light. Jung said a man who has not made peace with his unconscious is doomed to repeat it in the world around him. That's why you keep dating the same person with a different face. Why you keep ending up in the same arguments, the same lonely mornings, the same numbing nights. You are not cursed, you are just unintegrated. And the world doesn't help. It rewards your performance and ignores your pain. It gives you attention when you're funny, but abandons you when you're silent. It tells you to be alpha, be stoic, be driven, but never tells you how to be whole. Jung didn't believe in the caricature of masculinity we've created. He believed in the soul of a man, a place where power meets humility, where strength holds space for sorrow, where ambition serves meaning, not the other way around. But that kind of man is rare today, because no one is teaching boys how to become him. Instead, they're taught to optimize themselves like machines and wonder why they feel empty.
You think the grind will save you. You think the right body, the right girl, the right hustle will make the voice go away. But it won't, because that voice doesn't live in your wallet or your bed. It lives in the forgotten parts of your psyche, the ones you buried when you were told boys don't cry, men don't need help, and vulnerability is weakness. Jung taught that every man must confront his shadow or be consumed by it. And right now, the shadow is winning. It's dressed in dopamine and distraction. It's wrapped in bravado and irony, and it's killing you with a smile. But here's the truth that no one wants to hear. You cannot heal what you refuse to feel. You cannot become whole while clinging to a version of yourself designed to impress people who don't even know your middle name. You want to be seen? Then stop hiding. Stop performing. Stop outsourcing your worth to women, to work, to likes, to legacy. Carl Jung didn't offer easy steps or quick hacks. He offered a map, and that map leads inward, into the terrifying, beautiful work of becoming a man who is no longer at war with himself. But walking inward is not romantic. It is not cinematic. There are no violins, no applause, no validation waiting at the end of a caption. The path Jung called individuation begins not with a declaration, but a death. The death of the false self. The death of the man you built to be liked, to be chosen, to be safe. And here's the agony most men run from. That death feels like failure. It feels like weakness. Because when you take off the mask, when you stop performing, you're not met with love, you're met with silence, suspicion, sometimes even rejection. The world doesn't know what to do with a man who is raw and real. It only knows how to consume him or correct him. And most men, will go back. They'll pick up the mask again, because the pain of being misunderstood is more familiar than the pain of becoming unknown. Jung saw this too. He watched men return to their old patterns, not because they were stupid or stubborn, but because the unconscious is terrifying. It's vast, it's messy, and the first time you look into it, you don't see power. You see every failure you never forgave, every emotion you repressed, every betrayal you justified. You see the boy who was told to toughen up, the teenager who cried into a pillow so no one would hear, the young man who looked into a woman's eyes and saw a mother, not a partner, the man who still thinks success will finally quiet the chaos. That is the truth of the inner journey. You don't meet your greatness first, you meet your grief. And grief is a hard thing to sell in a world addicted to progress. But Jung didn't care about selling you anything. He cared about freeing you. And to be free, you have to stop identifying with your pain and start integrating it. You were not meant to carry your wounds like chains. You were meant to learn from them, to grow into the man who can say, yes, I've been broken, but I did not stay broken. Jung believed that true masculinity isn't power over others, it's power over illusion. The illusion that you have to be perfect. The illusion that you must be emotionless to be strong. The illusion that a woman will fix you, or that money will complete you, or that status will protect you from the void.
Jung wrote about what happens when a man refuses this path. He called it possession, the psyche hijacked by archetypes you never chose. The hero, the victim, the addict, the predator. You become a puppet for energies you've never met consciously, and that's why you sabotage your own success. Why you ruin the relationship you begged for. Why you ghost the girl you claim to love. Why you self-destruct the moment peace enters your life. You think it's random? It's not. It's you being controlled by shadows you've never made peace with. And this, Carl Jung warned, is what creates the modern tragedy. Men who look awake but are sleepwalking through their lives. You go to work, you show up for the gym, you laugh at memes, you sleep with women you don't care about and tell yourself it's freedom. But when the noise fades, when the show ends, you sit alone and wonder why it still hurts. It's not because you're broken, it's because you've never been whole. You've never gathered all the parts of yourself and let them speak. The angry part, the scared part, the vulnerable, jealous, hopeful, exhausted, passionate, wild part. They are not your enemies, they are your map. And until you invite them into your awareness, you will always be a stranger to yourself. This is why Jung's work still matters. Not because it flatters your ego, but because it tells the truth your ego doesn't want to hear. that the modern man's real weakness isn't his lack of money or muscles. It's his refusal to sit still with his soul. It's his obsession with being liked over being known. His addiction to relevance instead of reverence. And as long as he refuses to go inward, he will chase 1,000 versions of success and still sleep aside with that hollow ache in his chest. You know the one. You felt it too. The one that says, I've done everything right. So why does it still feel wrong? Because you didn't listen to the silence. You drowned it in stimulation. You didn't mourn the boy who never felt safe. You buried him in hustle. You didn't ask yourself what kind of man you were becoming. You just kept performing, hoping someone would clap. But no applause is loud enough to drown out the truth you already know. You are not here to be accepted. You're here to be real, to be rooted, to become the kind of man who, as Jung once described, walks with the weight of his own soul and does not flinch. The kind of man who doesn't ask, will they love me, but instead asks, am I living in truth?
And this is where most men stop, right here, at the threshold between illusion and responsibility. Because the cost of stepping through that door is everything you thought made you valuable. The charm, the image, the ambition, the story you've repeated so often you began to believe it yourself. Jung called this the persona, the mask you wear to navigate society. Necessary, yes, but deadly if mistaken for the self. And most modern men have confused the mask for the man. They've mistaken attention for intimacy, achievement for peace. They've been taught that to be respected, they must be invulnerable. So they build castles around their hearts, then wonder why no one ever truly knows them. But Jung wasn't afraid of vulnerability. He was afraid of repression, of men who bury their hunger for meaning under work and women, men who pretend they're okay while quietly unraveling. He believed that what kills men isn't failure, it's forgetting who they are. It's abandoning the inner world and outsourcing identity to whomever offers the loudest praise or the softest arms. It's living a life curated for approval instead of carved from conviction. And this is what makes the path of individuation so rare. It doesn't promise success, it promises truth. And truth will cost you comfort, illusions, sometimes even relationships. Because when you start becoming real, the people who loved your performance will feel threatened. When you stop agreeing to the role they cast you in, they will accuse you of changing. But you're not changing, you're remembering. And that remembrance is terrifying to those who still depend on their masks. You see, Jung didn't believe in perfection, he believed in wholeness. That means integrating not just the noble, but the messy, the jealous, the insecure, the proud, the weak. Every piece you've disowned to appear strong, every feeling you've silenced to seem okay. When those parts are met with compassion instead of condemnation, they stop ruling you. That's when a man becomes dangerous in the best way, not because he dominates, but because he is no longer afraid of himself. He no longer needs to prove anything. His presence is his proof. His gaze doesn't beg to be seen, it sees. That's what makes him untouchable, not numbness, but integration. Not apathy, but awareness. He still feels deeply, but he's not governed by those feelings. He still loves fiercely, but he doesn't collapse into need. He walks into a room, and people notice, not because he's loud, but because he's there, fully there. Not fragmented, not performing, just whole. And that's rare, because most men are still chasing pieces of themselves in the eyes of women, in the approval of their fathers, in the mirages of money and meaning. They are looking outward for something that can only be built inward. You want to know why you feel tired all the time? Why life feels like a loop of empty highs and low-grade despair? It's not because you're doing too little. It's because you're not doing what matters. You're chasing applause in a theater that only rewards repetition. But I ask you, whose script are you still reading from? Who taught you that love must be earned, that sadness must be hidden, that anger must be suppressed or exploded, but never understood?
These beliefs don't come from nowhere. They come from trauma, from culture, from fathers who never looked you in the eye and said, "You are enough." And if you never received that, You must give it to yourself now, because no woman can give it to you. No title, no car, no six-figure success. That wound is yours to tend. That voice in your head, the one that still whispers, "You're not a real man," is not your enemy. It's your invitation to step into the fire, to let the illusions burn, to meet the man beneath the mask and offer him something the world never taught you to offer: love. Not love as submission, not love as dependence. Love as reclamation, as presence, as the full embodiment of all you are. Flawed, complex, evolving. That's what Jung meant by integration. That's the soul work. That's how a man stops dying slowly and starts living honestly. But be warned, this path will strip you. It will leave you alone before it connects you. It will test your resolve. It will dismantle every false identity you've constructed for survival. But in the ruins of those identities, something unshakable begins to form. A self that does not tremble under pressure. A self that cannot be seduced by fantasy. A self that stands, even when standing means standing alone. And when you reach that place, you'll realize the irony. You won't be hardened, you'll be soft in the right places, strong in the right ways. You won't fear emotion, you'll honor it. You won't need validation, you'll offer truth. And the women who once felt confused by your intensity will now feel safe in your presence. Not because you performed, but because you stopped performing. That is the man Carl Jung believed in. The man who no longer wears the mask because he no longer needs one. The man who has faced his unconscious and emerged not perfect, but real. And that man in this world is a revolution. So if this reached you, if something in you trembled or woke up, don't scroll past. Sit with it. Let it disturb you. Let it unravel what's false. And when you're ready, not when it's comfortable, but when it's true, walk. Because the world doesn't need more strong men. It needs more whole ones.